order the regular meeting of the Frankfurt Plant Board. It's Tuesday, March 18th, 2025 at 5 p.m. in the community room at the FPB Administration Building. Madam Secretary, call the roll.
Member DeLong?
Here.
Member Keeban?
Here.
Member Mason?
Here.
Member Snyder?
Here.
Member Benton Mitchell? Here.
We have a quorum to do business. First item is we have before us the minutes of the February 20th, 2025 special board meeting. Everybody should have those in front. Does anybody have any changes or corrections? If not, do we have a motion to approve? We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Minutes are adopted. Next item is consider accepting the financial statements for the month ending February 28, 2025. We have a guest? Hello.
I've been here 10.5 years. I'm not a guest.
You want to sit at the table or just hang out up there?
I'm good.
Okay.
But honestly, if we could just replay what David said last month, it'd be the same thing, which is a good thing. You want steadiness in your financials, especially if you're a utility company. So they do start on page 13 of your board package, statement of net position. Total assets, line 75 is $245 million. Most of that, property, plant, and equipment, is our biggest asset. Liabilities on line 155, $102 million, and a lot of that is the KPPA. And then line 175 is net position. Take your assets minus your liabilities, that equals your net position, and that's $143 million. That's pretty much it for that, unless you have any questions. No changes on the loans on page 15. We did make a payment in March, but as of February, there's no change. On page 18 is the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position. Not a whole lot to talk about. Revenue we're up, just like David mentioned last month. No real changes. Same for expenses. Operating expenses are down. G&A expenses are a little up, but same story. The O&M check registers are on pages 42 through 80, and the Impress check register is pages 81 through 83. Something that is maybe exciting to talk about, two things. Jennifer Hellard has accepted the position that we had open in our position, or in our department for senior accountant, so she'll be starting at the beginning of April. And then also it's budget time.
Yes.
We had, that's your all's favorite part of the year, isn't it?
It's the best time of the year. Yes.
So we did the kickoff stuff last week, and so they're starting to send data in, hopefully to have a rough draft middle of April, and then have it to you all at the May board meeting, and then approve it in the June board meeting. That's the plan.
And similar, if you all want to do something similar to what we did last year, if you all have got a particular interest in any particular area of operational area, just make sure if you're interested, let Gary know. We just got to make sure no more than two of us are working in any particular area at the same time. But if you're interested in any particular department or area and want to get more in depth, let Gary know, and then just go at it. So
it seemed to work well last year.
Yeah, I think people got a little more in-depth information. I think we had better discussions in the board meeting. So, like I said, there's no assignments or anything. Like I said, as long as no more than two of us show up at one time, then just pick the areas you want to get involved in and dig in. So,
any other questions or?
If not, do we have a motion to accept the financials?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Financials are accepted. Thank you. Next item is public comments. Is anybody signed up to speak, Ms. Poe?
No, sir.
Did we have any web comments or any other public comments?
We had one web comment that I sent to the board, and I sent along with that what staff had done, and just to sort of give a background of what was going on. So that was the only thing that I had.
And I think,
We'll call me Jenna.
and I think everybody's aware, the residents in Duckers, Buena Vista, presented us it was actually a copy of the first petition, but we have acknowledged that we received it. Same response. It's they
Wish we could do something about it.
but we have forwarded on. We didn't forward it. It also they delivered it to PSC, which is the proper venue for it. And then, as you all know, Andy McDonald sent us a letter on some energy ideas and would like to present to the board. And what I think we've suggested to him is, with the litigation going on with deep pancaking, some other things, not wanting to put him off, but probably we need to wait a little bit to some of these other things get a little clearer. But we've let him know we've got it. You all have seen the information. We forwarded it to GDS. And as soon as we get a little more certainty in some areas, then with the board's permission, we'll be bringing before us to make a presentation. So, and he's aware of it. He did a lot of work on it. Appreciate it. There's just a lot of uncertainty right now what's going to happen. So, yeah, sure.
On the web comment that staff did respond to, and had, I know that several staff spoke to the person that same day as well. But it might be worth it for somebody to give a real quick explanation of when you think there's a discrepancy on your electric bill, especially with AMI and the policy about there being a charge to review or to analyze your meter for accuracy.
Who'd be the best, Travis, you or April? You go turn to April?
Yeah, maybe both of us.
Yeah, both of you. April, he just threw you under the bus just right off, didn't he? You're coming.
So we have had a lot of requests over the last couple of months because people's usage has been higher. And so what we typically tell customers, in my experience in 20 years, we've tested meters because customers have requested. Of course, there is a charge if it comes back within, I think it's 2 plus or minus 2. And typically, if a meter goes bad to your benefit. So the meter gets older, it's not showing all the usage coming through the meter. And so customers do get upset when we tell them that there is a charge. But we will test it. We're happy to test it. If the meter comes back and it tests within those parameters, there is a charge to do that. And Travis may be able to explain better what goes into that charge.
Are they aware of that at the onset, at the beginning?
Yes. When they ask for a meter test, we tell them right up front that there could potentially be a charge. That we'll test it once we see if the meter has, if it's within that parameter, that there could be. It's $121 for the electric and it's $104 for the water. And so we have had a couple this month where people have actually asked to have their water. Most of the electrics have, and of course, like you said, with the AMI meters, these are newer meters, so people are seeing a little bit of an increase in their usage because it is registering all their usage, whereas if they'd had a meter for 10 or 15 years, it might not have been registering as. But we also had that weather as well.
Okay,
But-
yes.
But customers are welcome to call in with a concern, and I know as with this customer, staff will look at the history and look to see if there's any obvious discrepancy.
Yes.
Now, if there is, would we still charge even if it looks like, whoa, this is way off the charts?
If we go out in the meter test within those parameters, yes, there's a fee unless someone in the electric or water department wants, if they waive that fee. We don't typically waive that fee in customer service. And so our process is we'll go through line by line with the customer, because with the AMI meters we can see their hourly usage, and so we'll actually get down to the hour with them a lot of times and just try to look at like even the temperatures and say, here on these days it was cold, so this is probably your furnace. And we did the same thing with water. We can see that from this time to this time that you were using 100 gallons an hour, those type of things. So we welcome them to call. They also have that information in their portal where they can see the usage as well. But if the meter does test within the parameters, then there is a fee.
And of course, to kind of go through all that with them, there's no charge for any of that. So,
Oh, no, not at all.
not to feel shy about calling, but just so that folks are aware that you all will give them notice if it has to go beyond that and they still want to have it checked.
And so that customer that you all had, I had actually spoken to her, and Another thing that we do is we do go back and look at their previous usage and see this time last year what did they use, and then sometimes we'll also just look at the usage there at that location, because we are looking for anomalies. We're looking to see if there's something that's, because a lot of times we can talk to them and say, okay, is your emergency heat on? And they'll go and check, oh, okay, yeah, my emergency heat's been running. So there's a lot of back and forth, and we do our best to try to assist them anyway, because like I said, most of us have been around a long time, so we've seen a lot of things, so we can usually pinpoint sometimes just by looking at their usage.
And you see the weather, so you can tell somebody, everybody's bill was higher last month because it was average of 10 degrees colder or whatever.
Well, and that's the other part, that people get caught up on the average, because they'll look at like, well, the average in January was the same as the average of January the year before. But the problem with looking at that is you're not looking at how many of those days were above average, because like in January we had several days where we got up in the 60s and 70s, so that kind of skewed the average for the month. But we had several more days in that time frame than the previous year where it was, below freezing or in the 10s, 20s. So that's another thing that we have to explain to them as well, is that while that average does give you some information, it doesn't really get down to the daily. And so you might have had more days that it was colder.
So kind of the bottom line is, no charge. If you think your bill's wrong, there's no charge to call to get an explanation, to ask you to go through it with them. If you still aren't satisfied and you say, I want somebody to come out, and there is a problem with the meter, then the charge is waived, correct?
No, if they come out, if there is a problem with the meter, yes, there will not be a charge.
There will not be a charge.
We'll get you, and
If
then
they
we'll
come
change
out
out your meter.
And you've had the explanation, we come out and the meter's fine, then that's when you incur the charge.
Correct.
And this charge is part of our tariff,
It
or what was brought before the board and public comment and then approved. So yeah, if you want to explain how we base that charge.
Yeah, it's just based on time, essentially rolling a truck to the customer residence, pulling the meter, testing the meter. I mean, that's basically kind of where we're at with the in and out costs is what it's, what it's derived from. And that policy is predated AMI, so even though the meters are new, that's always been the case.
Is that a standard among utilities?
Yeah, I think it's very standard, yeah, because the other thing is especially with the newer digital meter, rarely do they record just an off usage. It's like most digital devices, if they go bad, they go bad completely. Blank screen, not communicating, they just go out completely. They're either on or off. So again, it's derived from, it's so rare for a meter to go bad. I wouldn't say never, but again, that's kind of what drives a lot of those policies is, usually the meters are fine.
All right, thank you all.
Yep.
Way to hang in there, Travis.
Yeah.
Right. Mr. General Manager, you want to run through everybody?
Yes. First is public information. Cassie is off today, so Harvey going to do the report.
I'll do my best to fill in for Miss Lindsay. Good evening to all y'all. The department's we've been promoting the new My FPB app, especially highlighting the opportunity to opt into outage notifications through the application. That's been a priority in those efforts. We've also, as you guys will consider the prepay, we've been sort of preparing our communication education plan for that. The clubhouse has been really popular, and so we're working on streamlining some of the reservation process for that. We had a great meeting with Kentucky State.
Harvey, maybe next month,
Yes, sir.
Either you or Kathy, could you prepare a report to us and let us know what, say, the first quarter
Sure.
looks like on the clubhouse?
Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be good.
We had a great meeting with KSU about some partnership opportunities with them, and especially with Cable 10, and getting some content from KSU onto Cable 10. And then finally, April 19th, Earth Day, we'll be participating in an event at the Orlando Brown House to highlight FPB's efforts to incorporate renewable energies and conservation efforts. So I'll be happy to attempt to answer any questions you might have, but otherwise I'll be sure to work on the clubhouse stuff for next month.
Any questions for?
All right, thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Next is the NOC report.
And
Darren.
before we get to NOC, we don't have any, I guess, related party transactions. Just remind everybody and all the other employees, what April 15th hands is when everybody's disclosure statements are due.
We've got most everybody's disclosures in right now.
But not just the board, but other management employees that everybody has to file them, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes,
and-
sir. And then we'll get a meeting set with the ethics committee.
Sure.
To review those and go from there.
Hey, good evening. The NOC report's on page 85 of your packet. In February, the NOC entered 445 trouble calls, handled a total of 2,168 phone calls. On the locate side of the house, they did 432 locates, and that totals 4,481 for the fiscal year since July 1st. So, business as usual in the NOC and locate department. As spring comes, the locators will get busier. Spring storms make us a little busier in the NOC and everyone else as well.
And to remind everybody, if they're going out to buy some shrubs before they put a shovel in the ground, they
Call
might wanna
811 before you dig. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. Save some trouble down the road.
Yeah.
It's too easy not to. Man, it's the law.
Yeah. And if you don't call and you stick a spade in it, it's going to cost you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you've created problems. That's
Yeah.
correct.
Any questions?
No questions? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Next is customer service.
Well, you're back, Ms. Rose.
All right, so the customer service reports are page 87 through 91. So on page 87, you'll see that we assisted 7,775 customers last month. We had 489 transactions at the kiosk. Our wait times, they're kind of hanging steady. We do have a new employee who started Monday who comes from a water district, so we're pretty excited to have her with us. And then we have another new employee that's going to start on Monday who comes from an electric company. So we're pretty excited. We'll be fully staffed for the first time in a while. And so those wait times, you'll see them change as we get them trained. And then we had 22 positive Google reviews, and then of course we had 2 negative reviews. There were 1 and 2 star reviews, one of which was the customer that you all received the letter from. And then as Harvey mentioned and Darren mentioned, with spring storms, we just want to remind customers that we do have our new app that's available, and we do send push notifications out on that app for outages. So if there's an electric outage, especially with spring coming and the weather changing, if you sign up for notifications on that app. So if you don't have our app, I would suggest you sign up for it, and we send out notifications for electric outages, and then later Sharmista will talk about boil water advisories as well. And then on the portal, so if you're not an app customer and you are a portal customer, if you'll go in and check your notifications right now, everyone receives bill notifications, but you can also receive notifications about outages as well there, and you can text, phone, or email. So just a reminder for everybody with the spring coming up. I think spring starts Thursday, so storm season.
Yeah.
But that's all I have. If anybody has any questions.
Is it too early to assess how we look coming out of the winter in terms of higher bills, people maybe that got behind? I mean, what do we look like?
I think, as David usually says, as far as our bad debt actually looks pretty good right now. So I think, we do have a lot of people who have requested, which is some of these customer contact numbers, payment arrangements. So we, as always, we'll work with customers to help them get through those high bills. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is telecommunication.
Good afternoon. The telecom report starts on page 93 of your board package with customer numbers. The next 2 pages are the outages for the month. We had 6 outages. 3 of them were blown fuses because of weather. We did have 1 broken piece of cable, and we actually had a broken fiber out in the Schweitzer area. Trouble call is actually low for this time, typically. And still the leading cause of most of our trouble call is customer education. So still going in, a lot of Wi-Fi questions, setting up Wi-Fi networks, adding new devices, smart home, things of that nature. Excuse me. Next band, construction crews are working in a couple areas. Grafenberg, it's actually part of the Grand area. We're going to turn on 4 new areas probably in the next couple of weeks. Louisville Road, Grafenberg, Big Eddy, and Gleens Creek areas will be activated. That project, as far as overbuild's pulling to an end. Then we'll start really focusing on the grants. Right now, I think, I told Gary this morning, I think we have 212 easements still to get. We have 24 hard no's. And so with the ones that are definitely no that we can't seem to get an easement from, we're starting to do a redesign around those areas. And
What was the reason? Is there a prevalent reason of the 22 as why the hard no?
no, I mean, some of them just like, I don't want it on my property. I mean, it's a little bit of everything. And we've made multiple attempts and try to use a friend of a friend, just any kind of leverage we can get or any kind of angle we can work. And there's just some that are just.
Do you think it's an underlying, just they think we're going to come in and tear up their property?
We've had some. So we've had a couple providers go through town.
Mhm.
They didn't get easements. Some of them got a letter of permit to be on the property, and they've destroyed property and not repaired it. And there's no way the homeowner can do anything about it. So I think maybe a couple of them were there. Some people are just. They moved out in the country to get away from technology, and they don't want it on their property, to be honest. So, but like I said, those 24 hard no's, we're working now to redesign around them, and we'll see what those costs are. But that is the update that I have this evening.
John,
Adam, I think on your customer service penetration numbers, traditionally on the broadband numbers, you
Yeah,
have a
I
regular.
apologize. Yeah.
I just want to make
Yeah,
sure,
yeah.
because otherwise we got some budget issues we need to talk about.
No, we doubled down there, but
Yeah.
no, we typically put the next band on
On
the
top
top.
of that,
Yeah,
yeah.
I apologize. We'll get that straightened out next month.
But that number is closer to that budget number of 16,000 and change.
Yeah.
That's where it's been all year.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. I think we've actually added 500 customers this year.
Okay, good.
I think we had that conversation last month, and we were looking. I think we've added 500 new customers to
Good.
broadband.
That's great. Appreciate it.
Any questions?
thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next is Electric Department, Scott and Travis.
Good evening. Electric report starts on page 97. You'll see that our SAIDI number for the month is running 35.283. On page 98, you're going to have our top 10 outages for the month, and you will see that we had a total of 85 customers affected last month, and that was averages about 5 per outage if you look at the numbers that way. Page 99 is of course, your pie chart, which shows the percentages of each type of outage. And then page 100 will take those percentages and break it down to actual counts. And you'll see we have a total of 17 outages for the month. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir.
And for the AMI report, electric installs are at 21,341. That's 97% of the way there. Water, 14,501. They're at 85%. So getting very close, almost there on AMI, and we're marching along. Everything is so far going pretty good. The weather taking a turn for the better has helped a lot. So moving right along with that. And for the SEPA report, that begins on page 101 of your board package. Our SEPA bill was $82,285. That's our normal SEPA bill. Our payment was $323,982 for a profit to the board of $241,697, which brings us to $241,697 because that's the first month of the SEPA report. So for the calendar year 2025, we are off to a good start. Happy to answer any questions.
For QIMA, I really don't have anything new except you have any common question. I will happy to answer the question. No. Okay. For next is a safety report. Keller.
Good evening. The safety reports on 105 and 106. We didn't have any OSHA recordables or vehicle accidents for the month of February. We just finished up our CPR training for March. And see you all got your fire extinguishers. Thanks to the Frankfort Fire Department, they do a nice little program for Franklin Countyans. If you're a resident of Franklin County, you can get a free fire extinguisher. Just talk to the fire marshal.
And did you take care of Mr. Mason's request?
I'm working on it. Yeah. So
At the, I think I sent you a thing at the CPR training to which Ms. Doug Mitchell was I don't think impressed that Steve and I were in. But basically, there was a couple things came up, like the gauze that are treated with that to help blood clotting and injuries and a few of those things. That,
Yeah, hemostatic
yeah,
dressing.
that there was discussion that we could add a few of those things in.
Yeah, we're looking at just going ahead and just purchasing just a packet of 4 and getting it per first aid kit. And then we're going to update all of our first aid kits that are, or not first aid kits, but first aid cabinets that are in each facility. We will get a brand new first aid cabinet. It'll look better. And
there
it'll
was
be
discussion
stocked.
about what to get an AED for maybe the clubhouse and
Yeah.
a few other things.
Yeah, so I got some numbers on a few more AEDs to be purchased. I'm still waiting to hear back from a couple other vendors on prices on that. And then also with like pediatric pads, getting some of them for a few locations that customers may be in, so.
And the pediatric, because there are children that come in to here, the first floor here, and then out to the clubhouse. And then I think there was a concept that you were looking into about whether to change our current thing on AEDs and go with a contract that puts them on a regular replacement schedule. And they do have a life expectancy, which might cost more up front, but over time might be more cost effective in terms of having it almost like vehicle replacement schedule. Just you have a regular schedule to replace your AEDs.
Yeah, it's a little more than that.
Yeah.
It's called an AED program, and what this company does, it takes the liability. They come in each month, they analyze, they hook it up to their devices, make sure there's no recalls any other devices, make sure the pads are still up to date, batteries are good. And then when it comes time to be replaced, Zoll, which they're our main supplier for our AEDs, they will buy back our older ones at around $200 they'll give us. And then we get a discount for being part of the program itself. So there's some benefits to being part of it. And then they're also the licensed physician that oversees the program. So.
And you'll have more of that when we come to the budget process. We can look at
Yeah,
that.
because I'm still waiting to hear on other numbers from that, because there's not a lot of people who do AED programs specifically.
Okay.
But I will have more when budget rolls around.
Okay.
Any further questions on that?
And that's why, let you know, Catherine, Steve and I did get our cards.
Yeah, you graduated, is what you
For the
said?
record, I was impressed.
Yes.
That would instill confidence if y'all needed us.
Catherine gave us a look like, oh, really? You know.
Any questions?
Thank you, sir.
Next is a water distribution person.
Good evening, everybody. So, starting on page 107 in the board packet, you will see in February we installed 2 new water services. Then page 108 and 109 reflect we had 3 water main breaks, and all 3 leaks involved a water outage. To make the necessary proper repairs, we had to shut the water off and make repairs that way. Some of the stuff going on currently in the water department. Big project out 421, Midway project, heard a lot about that. We've currently got approximately about 7,000 foot installed. It's going well. We got 2 crews working out there every day on each end, kind of working the center point. You can probably see some stuff on social media starting April 1st. It's time for hydrant flushing, so you'll see probably water running down the street. We'll get some random call-ins, people want to know what's going on. Obviously, it's controlled. It's part of the flushing system we do to help clean the system out. And then upcoming, we definitely have kind of finalized some stuff today. The paddocks landings out there, the target property, we pretty much given the approval to start around the first week of April. We'll be moving a crew out there, moving some equipment out there. We're going to get that thing started, and I think it's approximately 2,400 feet of 12-inch pipe, so it will take a little bit of time, but there's some time frames, some time schedules we got to meet, so we're getting stuff scheduled and getting that ready to take off. Other than that, that's kind of water department in a nutshell for distribution.
Are we doing the Midway project and the paddocks with our own crew, or are we having to hire any contractors? We doing our own?
In-house. We're doing that in-house. We generally always try to keep work in-house. Generally we do it cheaper, quality of work's generally better, keeping it in-house. There's a few large things we do not do, like
Right.
large bores, things of that nature, large casing pipe and stuff. But generally, everything else it's always been in-house. And like I say, so what we'll do is we've kind of got the 2 crews at 421. We're going to probably take one of those crews, move it out to the paddocks. Then we kind of got another alternate crew. We're going to move out to 421. So we're just going to kind of swap around. Being the 12-inch pipe, large fittings and stuff, we definitely won't want the construction crews heavily involved with doing that. And then we're going to take one of the other crews that kind of does services, main repairs, installation, all that. We're going to put them out there to lay the PVC pipe on out 421. So,
Jason?
Just on the paddocks, what's the development time frame on that?
I think there's Target's pushing the most. They're the ones kind of setting the pace for everything. I think it's around January of 26, or is it a little bit later than that now, with kind of delay of getting started.
They want to start construction.
Yes.
May, they want to start.
Yeah, they're wanting so much construction to be done around the building itself. Once they get the foundation in, concrete floor, so they're trying to get the sewer, the water, all the, large digging and potential hole ramming and all that away from the building. For once that's installed, there's less chance of doing some type of damage, structural damage, cracking concrete and all that. So we've got some dates to meet, but what we've got right now, everything looks to be like it won't be any problem to get in and get out and meet the deadline they've given us.
They're shooting for, you said early 2026.
That's what I was thinking for Target to. It's the first large building they're supposed to get it up and going. Then of course there's a bunch of restaurants. The landings is kind of a front little area with more restaurants, and then you'll have other restaurants going in there. There's a BJ's wholesale store going next to Costco. So but Target's, it's the one kind of. It's running the show right now, from what we've been told on setting the dates and all that stuff.
Did you say Costco?
BJ's wholesale.
Oh,
it's
okay.
kind of like a Costco, but just a smaller store.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I was just curious.
Yeah. I'm not very familiar with the BJ's wholesale myself, so
Okay.
I've looked it up online. It's kind of like Costco.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, the water treatment plant.
Good evening. I'm going to provide the report for Brandon today. For the month of February, the water treatment plant treated a little over 229 million gallons of water for an average day of 8.18 mgd. Lot number 4 averaged 42,000 cubic feet per second for an average of 27 billion gallons per day. And there was about 7.7 inches of rainfall recorded for the month. And just following up on a project that you just approved, the water treatment plant capacity study. We had our kickoff meeting last week with GRW, so that's underway and hoping to get that here in the next month and a half to, within 2 months. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, action items. Consider approving additional earthquake coverage. Hans? And this is a follow-up from when we had discussion previous about renewing our insurance. And do we want to consider purchasing additional earthquake insurance? So.
Thank you. Well, since January, Charlie has retired. Tonight, answering questions. He's been working with us for 2 years now, so he knows our business and can answer whatever questions the board might have. The additional quote was $150,000 for $100 million coverage. They're also included in the board materials some papers that discuss kind of, the risk level for this area for earthquake. I think last time we talked, the total assets of the plant board, continue to correct me if I'm wrong, maybe around $200 million, which is why the board wanted to consider the additional amount. I don't know of any legal requirement that would force the board to get the additional amount. I think it's rather just a comfort level for the board. So that I'll turn it over to you all for discussion. Thank you.
Several questions. Hans, first is obviously there's the obvious thing. If we had a major earthquake event, there's the reservoir, there's the towers, but then there's all the water lines in the ground, transmission poles, buildings. If there was say there was that type of major disaster, and obviously the federal government comes in and can do things with FEMA and whatever. If you have insurance coverage, does that eliminate the possibility of us being eligible for FEMA reimbursement? Or would they pay as a second? Would our insurance pay only after FEMA paid? Or if you have insurance, do they go for your insurance first? How does that work?
That's a good question. I'm not sure how the FEMA side of it fits into it. I think there was a claim several years ago. I think our insurance does factor into it. They want you to get coverage, but I'm not sure what you would cover it for FEMA, unlike
Or how fast you could recover it?
or how fast you could get it, or what the claims process I know is pretty rigorous for the FEMA claims. So,
As a general rule, they're generally the payer of last resort.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like Medicaid and all these other
Yeah.
programs, you have other insurance that those are gonna take precedence. So I would be shocked if they didn't fall in line behind the insurance.
And we'd obviously have the obvious, let's say, unthinkable, you only want to, but say we had major damage to a reservoir or a tank or, I mean, we would need to spend the money to get things back online. We wouldn't have the luxury of saying, we'll apply to FEMA, we'll see how that works out, we'll go through the claims process. We'll have to make repairs. I mean,
I would suspect it'd be just like a tornado or windstorm. You wanted to get services back in. Operations obviously could speak to it more than I could. I would, have to get it fixed and then get it paid for with your reserves or your insurance.
what was his thinking? Do most utilities go for the extra insurance? I mean, what's in the utility industry? What's the? Yes. Does he want to come up?
Yeah. Mr. Marshall.
Good evening, Board.
Hey.
Stanley Marsnick. I got big shoes to fill,
Yeah.
Charlie
Yeah.
Hamilton, so I know I've been to every board meeting probably over the last 10 years. So
Well, Charlie used to bring us checks, you know.
That's exactly right.
I mean, I'm not putting any pressure on you, but as the year goes on, we'd like a big old cardboard check, but go on.
I got it. Next time I'll bring that with me.
Okay.
How about that? So, Charlie's, I believe the last time we were here, we talked about it. This isn't uncommon in the marketplace right now. Had a phone call yesterday. Client that had $100 million in TIV, total insured value. Carrier came back and said, we're dropping to $25 million. So it's really your risk appetite. In the event with this additional quote that we received, it was for earthquake only,
Okay.
right? So you guys have a primary $100 million limit
Mm-hmm.
right now. So we went out to market, we scoured it, we didn't leave any stone unturned.
Mm-hmm.
We went to 30 different markets from a non-admitted standpoint. We actually asked other carriers if they'd quote it monoline, and the max we could find for two carriers, one was $25 million. That's all they would provide. The other's 20. So, again, I think Charlie said the last time, I wish I had a crystal ball when it came to can we predict if we're going to get hit with an earthquake, that's going to cause catastrophic level, $200 million in damage for you guys. I wish I had that. I don't.
I mean, I'll turn it over for the board question. Just one other question. From your experience and what you hear in the industry, what you're seeing, and I know we don't, of our competitors and other sister utilities, whatever, what is common in the marketplace? Are most utilities, and I'm not asking you to speculate on them even if you knew, but like a Columbia Gas or a Kentucky Utilities or Kentucky American, are they insuring up?
I think it all depends on the size.
Are they buying the
everybody's
extra
risk.
coverage, or are they going?
I think it depends on their risk appetite. Again, going back to whether they're comfortable with 100, and with every different organization, you're going to have enough money to either, if you want to transfer the risk through insurance. So, the $150,000 additional, would a Columbia Gas probably do it? I would say so, because they probably got the money to do it. Smaller water utilities, I would say they're probably not, if they don't have the funding to pay for the extra insurance, they probably.
Turn it over to y'all. What do y'all think?
Stanley, let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
Our 100 million miles we have right now, that's total. That's a total all.
That's your building and your business personal property,
Okay.
your inventory, your equipment, all that.
And
good stuff.
that's for all purposes, or
All locations, yes.
but all damage, right? All different types of disasters.
It's what we call special cause of loss. So it covers everything except what's specifically excluded. Typically, that's flood and earthquake.
But
And what's the,
causes.
and what
That
specifically?
covers any kind of, not just, we're not just talking.
If, as long as it's not excluded.
Correct.
So, okay.
Exactly.
What
Now-
would be excluded?
Typically, it's flood and earthquake, and you guys have chosen to purchase that in
Okay.
certain
Yeah.
locations.
So, but did we purchase earthquake? How much extra did that $100 million getting it to cover earthquake for what we paid in January? How much did that cost us more?
I can get you a full breakdown of what,
Okay.
well, so all they did, you used to have full limits with
Uh-huh.
Cincinnati. And again, most carriers are now drawing back coverage for
Okay.
earthquake. They don't want to be exposed. Plus, they have reinsurance that they purchase as well, and their reinsurers are then saying, hey, we're not going to cover
We're
it
not
for
going
the
to cover
full
it. Okay.
So it went from full limits down to 100 million.
Okay.
And I wish we would have had our quote at the last board meeting.
Okay.
That actually was for the full limit.
Yeah.
The only other thing it also includes is your business income. So
Okay.
your lost revenue, continuing expenses, things like ordinary payroll, all those things are factored in that
Okay.
as well. So it's not just, I don't want you guys to think it's just the building and the business personal property.
And this is excess insurance, and it would only kick in if we theoretically reached the $100 million limit on the initial, correct?
So when we went through this process, I know the last time Jason had a question about, you've got primary, you've got
Stacked,
excess.
right.
Yeah, exactly. So the benefit to this is we went out to the market. I know I already told you the amounts, but what we did is we asked Cincinnati to make a special exception. So they went to their reinsurer and basically said, what would it take to stay at these 200 million in limit? So they made a special exception, so now we don't have two insurers.
Okay.
So this is a genuine exception made by Cincinnati, which is ideal, honestly, in a claim situation. So, you guys have been a valued partner for them for a very long time. So they were willing to do that. Most of the time they wouldn't.
Steve?
Cool. I appreciate you doing that.
Yes, sir.
Had to work some angles there.
So what is our risk? What is our appetite for risk?
I mean,
Is it 150? I guess the question is our appetite for risk $150,000? I mean, we save that much in premium. It takes a long time to save that much premium to cover 100 million. Now, the likelihood of getting hit for $200 million, but you say these policies would also cover for like lost revenue.
Correct, 100%. Yes, absolutely. So we're not just talking about buildings or the contents coverage. It does cover your business.
So if we were offline, say we got hit hard, and you hate to even have these, but say you got hit hard, well, obviously we got to get utilities back on. While we're getting it back on, we're not billing anybody for,
If you have to
customers aren't getting service, so we're not, but we've got employees that we're still going to need to pay.
Absolutely. So it helps you retain your employees. If you have to rent temporary facilities to get up and running, it will help with those costs as well. So, I don't want you to think it's just building and contents coverage.
Well, and I think the other part of this too is the way the insurance market is from year to year. I mean, we'll be able to get this year. I don't know if we'll be able to get this next year. I mean, the way the insurance, we keep getting the disasters we've been getting. This may not be an option in the future, but for now.
Certainly may not be an option at 150,000.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and that's two questions. One was, so this is a year for year. We're not locking in a 5-year.
No,
Okay.
sir. Yep.
Two, I'm looking at the maps, kind of our risk level. Would they be willing to insurance like Paducah, like someone that close, or is this just
So that's New
because of-
Madrid Fall for one.
Yeah, of course.
And they, this is obviously a lot lower hazard than New Madrid. And that was our argument when we went out to market on this, to be honest with you. So, it would be more expensive in Western Kentucky, and there are a lot fewer carriers or markets.
Do you have a
that
sense
would-
of what a policy like that would be and that close?
Not off the top of my head, I don't.
Okay.
I could probably get you some data on that because we do handle the Commonwealth of Kentucky's property policies. And
It wouldn't, I would be curious
Okay.
to see the difference, but I kind of agree with John that like they're offering it right now, and if God forbid something like that happened, we sure would feel pretty good about ourselves for having this,
I mean, I'd like to step back and say, I feel pretty good. Why spend 150 if we don't have to? But for this community, if something terrible happened, then what do we look like saying, well, we saved 150,000, but we're down 30 million on the I mean, it's kind of like.
My recollection was when we discussed this before that we didn't feel what we had would have truly covered a catastrophic situation. I mean, if we really, really wanted to be completely covered. And the 150,000 more, I mean, it's not really a fair comparison, but compare what our base policy cost. What was
Yes.
the base policy?
Off the top of my head, for the all perils coverage like we discussed, I wanted to say it was roughly between 325,000 and 350,000
Okay.
for the standard property.
So we're getting, I mean, as far as earthquake coverage, double the amount, but it's a third.
And that's where we ran into issues with carriers, is A, they were gonna be on the hook for, the 100 extra million, and trying to get somebody to write that for less than what we got. We only received 2 quotes. The only other quote we received was 200,000, and it did not include the business income value. So we told them to shut it down, it wasn't competitive, so.
I mean, the business income to me is almost as critical as the coverage itself of damage. Because if we're offline, we've got no revenue, but we still gotta keep functioning to have the employees and the staff to keep working to build things back, even though we wouldn't necessarily have billable income, because
Right. And we're still paying bills for the energy that we've purchased.
for the energy and just everything else going on, I mean, those bills don't stop, I mean.
Well, I'm just thinking too, if like one of our major KU substations goes down and we have to reroute like in real time, I mean, good Lord, that's.
Well, just think of all the water lines buried in this community, and that would be very vulnerable. The water treatment that's hooked right on the river. I mean, it's just, it could have some real ripples.
Well,
you hate to have this doomsday discussion, but this is kind of the world where.
Well, at the same time, I think for what we're getting, I mean, it's pennies, not even pennies on the dollar. It's pennies on the hundreds of dollars, because in a way they're pricing it because they think it's a low chance, but I think it's just the cost of doing business. And if we would look pretty bad if we didn't do it, and we're on record now, and then we didn't, God forbid, have an earthquake in 6 months, and everybody's like, well, 150,000, why don't you
We
pass
saved
on that?
150,000. I mean,
Yeah, and now we pay out 90 million. So I totally think that we should just, us do business. We need to have these things in place. And then I think last time there's a major earthquake on this fault, the Mississippi flowed backwards for 3 days. So it's a pretty serious fault line,
And I don't know that, I mean, I wouldn't want to, lock in a future board or anything toward this thinking. And this might not even hold any water, but if we take it now, maybe the odds of them offering it to us in the future will be more likely.
Makes it much easier on our end.
it gives us a chance to renew as opposed to just turn us down as an initial application.
And then going through the whole process again next year.
that might be just as valuable right there.
Steve? John?
Well, if we have to do this, then it certainly is a good thing we've got all that money we supposedly have laying around we're not doing anything with,
Where's Katrina? How much we got on surplus property? We got some surplus property to sell?
I just made an unwarranted editorial comment, Mr. Chairman. Sorry about that.
So do we have a motion? Hans?
Darren shared with me some information on the FEMA. It says FEMA, you file your insurance claims first, and FEMA gives you your deductible back. Then you can request from FEMA reimbursement for damage that's not covered by your insurance. So you got a pretty lengthy process there, it sounds like. To your point about having the money to keep continuing
To rebuild and start,
operations while you're going. So,
But we can at least get our deductible paid through FEMA.
Yes.
We're not out of that possibility.
Right. Yes. And what is the deductible?
5%.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion approved. Thank you, and thanks for your work on this.
Thank you all. Appreciate your time.
Item 5.2, consider approving Warner Brothers Discovery Affiliate Agreement. Harvey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Cable Advisory Committee and staff recommend the board approve this NCTC agreement with Warner Brothers Discovery. It's a 3-year agreement. Networks covered include former Turner services such as CNN, TBS, TNT, and Turner Classic Movies, as well as the former Discovery services, Discovery Channel, TLC, Food Network, and HGTV, among others. In all, this agreement covers the rights for 16 channels on classic cable, 5 channels on preferred cable, and 1 on HD+. Rates for most of these networks remain flat through the calendar year, and the annual increases beginning in 26 average 3% across the whole group, and those increases are below our budgeted amounts. As a reminder, Warner Brothers Discovery shares the broadcast rights to the NCAA basketball tournament, which I think starts in an hour. Those games are consistently among the highest rated programs every year. This agreement does contain protection against lost sports content. No additional carriage or migration requirements, and I'm happy to answer any questions about this item.
Harvey, would you refresh my memory? You remember, I know we went with the non-sports tier.
Yes.
Thing. Are any of these channels that don't carry the ball games included with those?
Yes.
Like CNN, they get like CNN and those kinds?
Yes, so there's not all of these
Right,
channels, but a handful
sure.
of these channels are included in that retention tier.
And that's accounted for in these agreements?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, and we'll start that annual process here pretty soon, and we can go over all that at that time too.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for Harvey? If not, do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion, do we have a second? We have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Contract
Thank
approved.
you.
Thank you, sir. Next item is consider approval of the Cannon & Cannon, Inc. to perform general engineering services on an as-needed basis. Sharmista,
Hello again. So this
you're
is
up here a lot. You're coming back again later, aren't
I
you?
am. So this item is something we've mentioned before. Just occasionally we have a need for general consulting services. Sometimes it may not be a full-blown project, but just an opportunity to collaborate on an engineering project. Typically, for me, when I'm running a hydraulic model, it helps to collaborate with an engineer to kind of just look at the best ideas for designing a new water line. So I sent a request to a few of our pre-qualified firms for a list of their hourly rates, and they were comparable. I selected Cannon & Cannon. They have a full working version of it's called KY Pipe. So they have that. They have the knowledge and resources to provide assistance on that as-needed basis. They're currently performing work for the Frankfurt Sewer Department. So they prepared an agreement for these on-call services, which is included in the board package. And it'll be basically, I'm going to kind of do this 5-year term for the master services agreement, so it'll just kind of fall in line with that 5-year agreement, and this will end at that same term. But selecting Cannon doesn't mean that I can't reach out to other firms if they're busy. I've got the hourly rates for the other firms. I can still reach out to firms as needed.
And there's no charge unless you need them.
Absolutely correct.
Any questions, Sharmista? If not, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do you have a second? Second. We have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Contract's approved. Thank you. Consider approval to revise section, H, subsection M, in the FPB tariff to include the prepay program.
A public hearing was conducted in February to discuss the establishment of a prepaid program as an addition to the FPB tariff. Following public review, staff is now requesting board approval to formally implement the program. The prepay program is designed to allow customers to pay for their utilities in advance, eliminating deposits, late fees, and reconnect fees. This initiative leverages the AMI system and the My FPB mobile app to provide customers with real-time updates on their account balances and usage. Customers are billed daily based on actual usage, with applicable fees and taxes reconciled at the end of each billing cycle. Participants will receive real-time notifications of their account balances. Services will be subject to automatic disconnection if the balance reaches zero. Eligibility, it is a voluntary program and available to customers with AMI meters. And then, of course, customers with past due balances may enroll under a 70-30 split, where 70% of payments go towards current usage and 30% towards arrears. And then customers on automatic draft or net metering customers are not eligible for the program. And existing deposits will be converted into account credits for enrollment. With the public hearing process completed and the benefits of the program outlined, staff requests board approval to formally add the prepay program to the FPB tariff effective April 1st, 2025.
Since the public hearing, have we had any additional comments, any other questions?
No, we haven't had any. And so I will note that April 1st, we just want to make it part of the tariff at that point. However, we do still have some testing that we'll have to do some live testing. And we'll need to go through a couple of cycles, billing cycles, before we can actually offer it to everyone. So it's not like April 1st, everybody can call in and sign up. We will be doing some testing to make sure that we have everything ironed out.
So how will people know that it's actually, if they're interested and they want to sign up, what is the process then? If the board approves it, what, like you said, some testing, if I'm interested, what do I do at this point?
So what we'll do, we're already working with marketing to start the advertising. So we'll be ready to advertise day one once we're ready to start. And so we'll put it on our Facebook page. We'll have it out. They'll talk about it on around 10. And then we'll have it set up so that they can, it's kind of like the budget program where they can go on our portal and sign up, or they can sign up in the office.
So if I'm interested, I'll need to call you in the morning.
You can call and ask us questions. We'll be happy to answer any questions.
You can't sign anybody up.
But we're not signing anybody up just yet.
Steve?
I don't know if we still send out bills to people.
We do.
So would it be in that, because I'm sure there's a lot of people, that may not do the electronic thing.
Yeah, so we definitely put every month. Well, like this month, we put a notice on our bill about notifications for the portal, and then we also put a notice for our current budget customers. So yes, we can put notes. They'll be there at the bottom. We'll definitely once we're ready for signups, it'll be everywhere. We'll plaster it everywhere.
You can tell I don't pay the bill. My wife pays the bill. So.
We'll definitely get the word out. We're pretty excited about this program, but we do need some time just to make sure that it's working the way that we want it to.
Any other questions for April? Okay. Based on that, do we have a motion to formally adopt the program?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion. We have a second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed? Program's approved. Good luck.
Thank you.
And next month when you come, you can say, it's great. It's great. Okay. Next item, consider approval of equipment rental agreement with Farmdale. Hans?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Farmdale wanted to use our back trailer to clean out meter balls with, and this is just kind of an agreement that says you've got to keep insurance, and gotta tell us about any repairs and so forth and so on. It's typical standard kind of rental agreement.
As I understand it, the work we're doing with Farmdale to help them put new meters in, the meters, we have to have access to so much clearance in that meter to get down there and work, correct?
Yes, sir. Sharmista can probably elaborate far more than I can, but you've got to get the dirt and the water out of the vault before you can get the meter in, and that's what this piece of equipment is used for.
Anybody have any questions or want to hear more about it, or?
I just, my understanding was that it'll be very helpful by the time we get there that they have done this work, so it's kind of beneficial to give them,
Yes, ma'am.
rent them equipment to do that.
And we've got the equipment, so it works out, and there's no reason for them to go out and buy stuff, and we've got it, and we'll get reimbursed for it. So I mean, it's.
I'm not sure I think it's. No, I don't know that we're actually going to charge it. There's no motor on it.
Okay.
I don't know how much reimbursement
would
really be. It's not really it's more of just a pull-along trailer with a vacuum on it.
Okay.
So not much like an engine or a motor. There's some questions about the reimbursement, so it's not like you have to have a fund for overhaul or anything like that. So.
And we'll take it out to them, or will they come and get it, or we'll take it out and they'll use it?
I think they have it. I think they picked it up Friday, maybe.
Okay.
So they're out cleaning the stuff out currently, I think.
Any questions? No? Do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. We have a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Agreement's approved. Next item. Consider award, and this is a good one, consider award of bid number 1819 for tree trimming services contract to Wright Tree Trimming. We had a lot of interest in this.
Yes, we did, and the reason why you see this in front of you tonight, you can thank Katrina. This is our prelude to budget year for us. This is by far, this is one of the biggest expense the electric department has. So, of course, knowing that this year was going to be the new year for a new contract, we got it all sent out early enough to where we have it now, since we are starting budget, which turned out good. We did have, we sent out, we advertised in the state journal papers, and we actually sent 6 individual invitations out, and all 6 did reply. We had a good turnout. That's the first time I think we've had that many at one time. Usually you only have like 2 or 3 companies bid on tree trimming, so that was nice to have that many bids. Again, Wright Tree Trimming Service was the low bid. They are currently ones we use now. We've had really good luck with them and really good working relationships. So in result, we are going to ask for your award of bid 1819 to Wright Tree Service. The overall, just for your information, like on the bid, there's like 19 line items that go out. And if you go back and break all the deal averages, Wright Tree Service is about 13.5% on each one of the lines, where, you know, that's a little bit of an increase from 2020, but, you know, if you look at the cost of living and how things have gone, 13% is not a lot, so.
And there were some huge variations on some of the bids.
Yes, and there's a lot of variations, and it's kind of hard to really try to figure out what they were trying to put in there, but we got it all figured out, and we're happy to present this to y'all.
In your own analysis of this, did you weight how often various services would be done, or what, if they're low on something that's rare that you don't use very much, or, you know, the most common things you do? Did you all weight your in your analysis?
That's what typically like what you're talking about. We know what we use the most of all that, and that's what we drive everything. That's what we focus on. There's certain line items in the bid process that. Like a 70-foot elevator truck or a bucket truck, like a geo mower. We rarely ever use those here. But if we ever come to need it, we have to have one.
Right.
So those, our goal is just pretty much the manual labor hours,
straight time labor,
the bucket trucks that they use, the split dump truck, and the chipper, and that's really what drives. That's what we're looking for. That's what we use the most of.
Okay, good.
This may be a little bit of an unfair question, but what the heck? If this contract renewal, compared to where we currently are, on an annual basis will cost us roughly how much more a year than where we are right now for the current year?
We're going to sit down and really start putting together the numbers. If you're looking at 13% for each line item, and we're using 4, 5, 6, 7.
So you think overall you go up?
We're using about 10 of those line items constantly, so. It's going to be an increase. There's definitely an increase, but it's going to be. I think relatively, it's it's fair because, like I said, it's only like 13% since 2020. That's going up. So
then, if we go with the recommendation of Wright,
yes,
compared to the next most competitive bidder,
yes,
what would have been the dollar difference net all in?
Running the numbers, I come up with a little cheat sheet. I should have brought it with me. It was about $300,000 or $400,000 difference.
Total, really?
But that's not really bad, because once you go past that, then it got really spread out apart.
No, I mean, if we went with number 2.
We went with number 2. It was right about $300,000
more per year than what this contract will cost us.
And that was weighing apples to apples. That was using what we were going to.
Yeah, I mean that's strong. I mean that's.
Are you mentioned a 3-year term with 2 1-year renewals?
Correct.
Is that a joint option? Is that our option?
It's pretty much our option. Now they do have a clause if they want to leave, they have to go through the process of all that. But we're the driving force. I've never known nobody to not want to renew. Right. They actually want to renew, so they're happy when we send them a note, say, "Are you willing to renew this year?"
Sure.
So,
well, once they get the contract and they invest in equipment and everything for that term, they want to keep the contract to keep because they've got a capital cost to cover.
They've invested in hired employees and all the equipment they've got here sitting here. It's it's an undertaking for them to start moving things around, and that was another thought process besides for the budget ideas. If somebody did come in and get this bid, then whoever we hired, we had to have enough. Well, we want to give them enough time to acquire all the equipment they need for this area, to find a spot, the storage, to find a labor force, because they just don't have them sitting around, just moving them around. So they have to these companies actually physically go out and start all over to build a system for you, in a sense.
Other questions?
If it's in order, I make a motion to consider the award, to approve the award of bid number 1819 to Wright Tree Trimming Service.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And good work on the detail and all the information you provided us. I mean, it was a lot of data, but I mean, you laid it out well and, you know. Okay, informational item, General Manager. I know you got one item, Mr. General Manager.
Sure, definitely. I request a meeting to the president of Kentucky State University, and we had a meeting yesterday, and a couple of staff went with me from Casey Lindsay, Adam, and Miss Brown. Michelle went with me too. So we actually, it's very positive, very good meeting. We really appreciate his time to study, work together with us, looking for potential partnership, you know, between us and Kentucky State University. What we can offer, for example, the internship or the hand-on for students come to our facility, or the potentially more useful our around the 10 program for report to the public all the positive progress they made it. For example, we can share potentially, we need to have work out a detailed agreement. Definitely you need to prove that if we have agreement from. But for example, let their graduate student faculty share our data to do the research. Potentially they can benefit, we can benefit the result of research. And we also, Adam went with me, you know, we can offer some competitive rate for the fiber internet service. Currently they served by someone else. But overall, you know, we just want to say Kentucky State University is our university. You know, is there anything we can do for the both organizations can mutually benefit? We will open the door, try to say anything we can work together, have a, hopefully it's a long-term relationship. We need a strong university, and overall it's going to be great for this town. It is ours, so that's kind of I follow the guideline from the board, actually asked me to do that too. So but I'm very happy to say that. This is not our first meeting, actually it's a third meeting we had. But we are really looking for is action item. What we can truly do in the near future. So the president of Kentucky State, he really want to schedule next meeting to bring many of his staff in, to then we can have you know, beyond me and him, my staff can meet them directly to achieve some of the result. But whatever the one we have, we'll bring that to you. Potentially, if you would like to put in the budget for some of the work study or the, you know, internship for the next year budget, we're ready to prepare something like that too. But mostly is opportunity, yes.
And you're preparing a follow-up letter to Dr. Cuppa,
Yes.
basically memorializing yesterday's meeting.
Yes.
And a lot of this stemmed from, I guess, however long ago it was, earlier this year, the State of the Community Breakfast. Yes. And in his address to the community, he talked about some of the initiatives, and Gary followed up with him saying, you know, we'd like to be part of it. And then I think to K-State's credit, there was some funding being held from K-State from the last budget bill, and the General Assembly released it, and Senator McDaniel, who's chairman of Senate A&R, was very positive both on the floor of the Senate and in committee on the progress that the president's made up there to turn some things around, to get things kind of back on an even keel, because there was some issues that they were dealing with, and the General Assembly was very positive about the progress he's made since he's been there, and very encouraging to him pretty much to keep up the good work. So, but Gary followed up after that breakfast and saying, you talked about these things, we'd like to talk to you about them. So, and I thought it'd be good for everybody to hear it, so that, you know, Gary's going to follow up with a letter and saying, we had a great meeting, let's move to the next step. So, Anything else you got there, Gary?
Not really. This is the next, any detailed progress.
And thank you and
I
your
will
team
email
for going
you.
up there and following up, so.
Thank you.
Next, information items, old and new business. Sharmista?
So this is a follow-up to last month's discussion about notifying customers of the boil water advisories. And last month I had said it would be 1 to 2 months. Well, it's actually been tested and it's ready to get started now, so they're ready to go live with that. And I'd also mentioned that customers will receive phone and text messages, phone calls and text messages as well, kind of like if you're in the county school system. But for now, reality is if you're a portal customer and you have an email address on file, the notification will go to your email, but in order to receive that phone call or text, if you want it, you actually have to go into the portal or the app and actually opt in for those notifications. So as Harvey and April both mentioned, we're trying to share that message with customers to know if you want to get that direct message directly to you, you need to go in and do that, add that notification. In addition, I've met with April as well, and they said that when customers call in or visit in person, that they can actually ask the customers I think they're going to be able to go in and see if they're opted in. If they're not, they can ask if they want to be opted in for that additional messaging. So we're excited about it.
So if I'm a current customer, what do I do?
So right now, if you have an email on file, you're automatically going to get an email.
Okay.
And then we're also working on a targeted email. I drafted it and sent it to Kathy Lindsay for review. We're going to actually send an email to all of our portal customers that give you instructions on how to either go into the online portal or to go into your app and opt into those messages.
Okay.
So I don't have the step-by-step in
Right,
front of me.
but that would give you the boil water, that would give you outage, that would do all that.
Correct, yeah. You'll get your boil water advisory and when it's lifted.
I just did it, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, you opted in, so Mr. He can give
See,
you
he
that.
just bragging now. That's all he's just bragging.
So on the next boil water advisory, if you're an affected customer, you'll receive that message. So is it phone and text? You opt into both?
Yes,
Okay.
there's the option to do email, text, and phone on billing, payments, appointments, service announcements, and promotions as well.
There you go.
There you go.
That easy. So.
That's so helpful for peace of mind, especially if you have children at home and you're gone, to get that notification and say, don't drink the water.
Thank you for getting all that done very quickly.
And I have to thank IT and everybody, April, Kathy, everybody's been so helpful, so thank you.
And then Sharmista, if you want the packaged commercial, if you got it right there,
An on-site
video,
testimonial.
We're good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Two other things very quickly. One, I contacted the mayor today as a follow-up. As you know, we've got 3 kind of pending issues. What's going to happen down at the old farmer's market regarding the charging station and the water fountain? How fast they're going to transition, and then I asked the mayor just if he could follow up with as early as convenience. Do they have? I know there's various plans about different things that could go on that site. How fast are they going there? Does it serve a community purpose? You got the hotel there. There's other events downtown. Does it serve a purpose to have that water fountain and the charging station there? Gary's pulled up and he can share with you the charging station usage is very minimal. But do we want to keep that there? The second question was, how soon are they going to basically bring online the new farmers market down on Home Street? And again, is there interest? It kind of transfers. If there's not much activity now in the charging station, does that new site need a charging station? If there's not much activity at the current farmers market, is there a need for a water fountain there? And we have no way to measure that, but we have a water fountain, but that's right now down there by the river. This will be further down on Home Street, so there's that question. And then if you remember, about several years ago, we bought a brand new charging station that was going to go downtown. Travis and Gary and that worked and Hans trying to get the easements and that we needed. We were never able to do that. We have that still in a box. We very likely will have a need for it at the Myrtle at the Hickory facility for our own use. And basically, I just asked the mayor, I said, it's coming up on the budget. It would be helpful to know kind of what your all's plans, timetable, actions are. If you've got anything going on that still has an interest, because we originally bought that level 3 charger for downtown. Since that time, I think the charging stations, Travis, have come on out there by Frisch's I don't know if they're operational, but the construction's over.
Yeah, construction looks done. I don't know others.
Yeah, so I mean, just trying to get a sense of where they're at, so when we get to the budget, we've got that information and you all can decide what we want to do at the old farmers, the new farmers, and with that level 3 charger.
So do you have timeframes? Because, I mean,
No?
my sense was there was a lot of site development down
Yeah.
for the new farmers. So my guess would be it would be next year, right?
I'm assuming, yeah, I mean,
I
that's,
had to guess.
that's what, just trying to get an idea from our standpoint, what, so we've kind of got an idea how to plan in terms of when they're gonna phase out one site, bring a new site on. Like I said, Gary's got the usage data. The usage data on the charger has been pretty minimal.
Okay.
You know, if we freed that one up, that one could go somewhere else.
Do we have the option, like the Delegate Hotel, their parking lot? Do we have the
Well,
option?
their
to-
parking lot is partially
So small,
Commonwealth Credit Unions.
It's so small.
Oh, is that where they're I thought.
Well,
they're
I don't know
parking-
where all they're parking. I mean,
Okay.
there's the parking lot on the other side of the track. I guess it's Commonwealth Credit Union in Travis.
Yeah, I don't think. But then there's the parking on the hill, right, between the church and am I believing?
There's just a few spots there in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think they
don't have
I'm not
the room
speaking
for it.
Sure, but I don't see a lot of cars
Okay.
there, maybe people who work there.
Yeah.
work there.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that because that seems like that's going to be a draw for
Mhm.
out of towners and people coming into
Yeah.
town, and especially I was talking to them in Keeneland. They said they're already booked for the entire month of April, so they're
Is that right?
they're ready to have that Keeneland crowd roll in. So, okay, well, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I mean, just
I
so
think
we
we have
get a
some
handle,
time.
'cause,
Yeah, I think we have some time.
But we're waiting for the mayor to see what he wants.
Yeah, with the city's
Okay.
kind of master, I don't want to call it master plan, but kind of where he sees all this going, and
Of course.
so we can kind of decide where we got to deploy things. And
I guess I was asking if we had the flexibility to put it in a private parking lot in relationship to sort of some type, if we have to stay on public.
Well, it would have been in a private parking lot where we wanted to put it. We
yeah,
couldn't
they
get an
wouldn't let us go
easement,
there, so yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's all I was asking more. Is
Yeah.
I just gave the delegates an option, as a suggestion or example, but, okay.
And I know several of the hotels in town. I don't know, does the new transit center have a charger in it?
I know they're looking at it because I've talked to them several times
Is there-
about how we develop our rates, so that's on their mind for sure.
So, and I know a couple hotels on the east side have charging stations. So the marketing, tourism, development side, I just assumed was something we'd maybe get the mayor to give us some insight on where they're headed. And then we can come back and bring it back here and everybody can decide what you want to do.
Awesome.
There's some obsolescence setting in on the charging station.
Well, that's what kind of prompted this. I mean, I think, we got it in a nice box, but we need
Well,
to
I
do something
mean,
with it.
if it is it eligible to be exchanged for, if we used it ourselves?
Right.
I mean, we bought it
eligible to be
ourselves.
exchanged for, the newer version?
Well, what we've got is a level 3 though, right?
Yeah, the one we got is a level 3, so it's still.
Well,
It's still
3 years,
fine.
It's still
Yeah.
2, 3 years old.
Yeah, I mean, they're the newer and the latest and greatest. They're probably better, but I would say it's still pretty. It's still pretty up to date. But
The one we bought is called a 50 kilowatt per hour. And the one they put a $2 million on the state grant, that's a 350 per unit. But not all electric vehicle can charge by that rate.
Yeah.
There's a limitation by the vehicle too. But 50 is quite a bit. And they need a three-phase service because if you think most of the battery is only 70 kilowatt. So per hourly 50 is, it's a lot higher than the level 2. I'm just saying.
Great. I think it's a great topic,
Yeah.
and I think we have some time. It
Yeah,
makes sense.
and but
Yeah.
if we're gonna have to put some money in to relocate, to move some stuff, the reason I went on and reached out to the mayor is so we'd have this information when we get into the budget process. And if we have to budget some to install, to do some things, we've got that information in front of us.
Yeah, well, great.
The last item is, as you're all aware, the latest round of state funding for broadband connectivity was this past, Adam, Saturday? Saturday. And we did submit the grant application for that limited area, that one neighborhood. We don't have to do a budget mod or anything. It's contained within our budget because we include in the budget amount for a certain amount of small new homes every year. So we've submitted, it's a very small area. We have no idea who applied for what or if anybody applied for the whole county, but our limited application was just for that one neighborhood that we're already literally all around there. And I think, what was it, Adam? Yeah, so, but we did submit that, and I guess, do we need a motion hands to do it, or what do we need to do?
I would just make a motion to ratify the recent B application submission. And of course, you can add whatever other information you'd like.
And by doing that, if we get selected, we still would have to vote to actually accept it and do it. So all we're doing now is confirming that we submitted the application for consideration.
Okay, so moved.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So we've done that, and like I said, I don't know how fast the time frame is when we'll hear, but we won't have to budget any additional funds, so.
Okay, and then, this is new business. I just had an update
Sure.
on something.
Yeah.
I was talking to two people I know who just attended a DC grant writers conference, about 1,900 people there, and I got the sense it's considered like the #1 where you're getting all the advice directly from the federal government. Basically, what the takeaway from that meeting was just business as usual. Just crank forward on these grants you've been awarded. Just do your thing. Don't just let the bigger stuff play out. But
yeah.
for the now, just if you have a grant, if you've been awarded, just move forward as if normal. So I think everything we've been doing is kind of going with what the national trend is. So yeah, that was a bit of a relief to hear that. Yeah.
Good, yeah. So, anything else we need to cover under new business? Old business? Next is Mr. Snyder.
Mr. Chairman, I request permission to call a closed session pursuant to KRS 618101C to discuss pending or proposed litigation regarding a contract matter, insurance matter, administrative agency matter, a declaratory judgment regarding property, and an MDL matter. Also under KRS 618101B for deliberation on the future acquisition of a specific piece of real property, since publicly discussing the property would likely affect its value, and also under 618101N to select the successful bidder for the award of a local contract.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor of going into closed session for the stated purpose, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hands, come back in 5 minutes. You want to just stay here and?
I think we can stay.
We need a motion to come out of closed session.
So moved.
Do we have a second? We have a second. All those in favor of coming out of closed session, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Mr. Snyder?
Mr. Chairman, there was no board action taken during the closed session and no need for any votes in the open session.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion second to adjourn. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We're adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.